Assalamu alaikum. My name is Maryam Khursheed, and the topic that I'm going to present is critical literature review. Though it's a very vast topic, but I will try to cover most of it in the 15 minutes that I've got. Let's start with the main focus points that we are going to cover in this presentation. First of all, we will see what is a critical literature review. Next, the functions of critical literature review, types of literature review, how to approach the literature review, and ethical issues related to literature review. So, here is the definition which pretty much defines what a critical literature review is. A literature review is basically the selection of available documents which can be both published and non published and which are related to the topic. This information can contain data, ideas, evidences that can be written from a particular standpoint to fulfill any certain aims or express certain views on the nature of topic and how to investigate that topic. What critical literature review ensures? Critical literature review basically ensures these six things. First and foremost is the research effort must be positioned relative to the existing knowledge and build on this knowledge. Secondly, you can look at a problem from a specific angle. It can shape your thinking and sparks useful insights on the topic of your research. Next is you do not have to run the risk of reinventing the wheel, and instead of wasting your effort to try to rediscover some new things that are already known. Next, you are able to introduce relevant terminology and to define key terms used in your writing. And next is you are able to obtain useful insights on the research methods that others have used to provide an answer similar to the research questions. Finally, the research effort can be contextualized in a wider academic debate, and in other words, it will allow you to relate your findings to the findings of others. What are the functions of a critical literature review? These are the four main functions of a critical literature review. First is that it provides theoretical background to your study. Whatever the study you are able to conduct, whatever the study you want to conduct, with literature review, you will have a strong theoretical background to your study. Next is that it will help you to identify, to inform, and modify your own research. For example, you have conducted a research on a topic and you want to modify it, then you can easily inform and conduct a research again. Next, it will identify an appropriate research question. It will entertain all your whys, what ifs, and everything that you need to before starting the research. The last one is that it will make you acknowledge the work of others. You will read many articles and you will admire those, and you will see that it will give you an insight and help you to acknowledge the work of other people. Next we have is the type of literature reviews. Literature reviews have these five basic types. Number one is narrative literature review. Narrative literature review basically critiques the literature and summarizes the body of the literature. Narrative review also draws conclusion about the topic and identifies gaps or inconsistencies in the body of knowledge. Next is systematic literature review. Systematic literature review requires more rigorous and well-defined approach compared to most other types of literature review. Systematic literature review is comprehensive and details the time frame within which the literature was selected. Systematic literature review can be divided into two categories. One is meta-analysis and other is meta-synthesis. When you conduct meta-analysis, you take findings from several studies on the same subject and analyze these using standardized statistical procedures. Whereas in meta synthesis, you conduct non-statistical techniques. This technique integrates, evaluates, and interprets findings of multiple qualitative research studies. The next type of research is the argumentative literature review. In argumentative literature review, you examine literature selectively in order to support or refute an argument. Next is integrative literature review. Integrative literature review basically synthesizes secondary data about research topic in an integrated way such that new frameworks and perspectives on the topic are generated. Theoretical literature review focuses on a pool of theory that has accumulated in regard to an issue, concept, theory, or phenomena. Next, we have how to approach a literature review. Step 1 is we identify the material that is available on the desired topic. How can we identify a material that is available on our topic? We will go through the data sources that are provided. The data sources can be any textbook, journal, thesis, conference proceedings, unpublished manuscripts, reports, newspapers, and the internet. Step 2. What we will do next is that we will search for the literature. In previous era, we have to manually go through several indexes that are compiled periodically, listing the journal, books, and other sources in which published work in the area of interest could be found. With modern technology, locating sources where the topic of interest have been published have become much easier. Almost every library today has computer online systems to locate published information. Computerized databases provide a number of advantages. First, they save enormous amount of time. Second, they are comprehensive in the listing and review of references. And third, gaining access to them is relatively inexpensive. That is why we can now benefit from the modern technology and computerized databases. Also, we can benefit from libraries which have electronic resources at their disposal. Electronic resources like electronic journals, full text databases, bibliographic databases, and abstract databases. After we have searched for the literature, we will come to the point where we will have to evaluate the literature. Accessing the online system and searching for the literature in the area of interest will provide a comprehensive bibliography on the subject. Because of the search for literature can sometimes provide as many as 100 or more results, you will have to carefully select relevant books and articles. At a glance of titles of the articles or books will indicate which of them may pertinent and which are likely parallel to the contemplated studies. When we go through the abstract of the article, it will usually provide us an overview and the study purpose, and it will generally narrate the research strategy, finding, and conclusions. Thus, we can read a good abstract and find what the research is about. And also, if we want to read in detail about the literature and evaluating the literature, we go through the intro. Next, if you want to have a glance at a book, we will go through table of contents and first chapter of the book to make sure if it's worthy enough to be a part of our literature review. And of course, the references. References will help us identify if the research or literature is well researched and if it can play a key role in our literature review. We can ask the following questions from literature to make sure if the literature is well enough and the quality of the article is well enough to be uh, to be a part of your literature review. One is the main research question or problem statement presented in a clear and analytic way? Is the relevance of the research question made transparent? Does this study build directly upon previous research? Will the study make a contribution to the field? Is there a theory that guides the research? Is the theory described, relevant, and is it explained in an understandable, structured, and convincing manner? And there are many others, you can read them yourself. The last step is documenting the research, the literature review. Now, when it comes to documenting documenting the literature review is important to convince the reader that researcher is knowledgeable about the problem area and has done some preliminary homework that is necessary to conduct the research. A point to note that literature survey should bring together all relevant information in a cogent and logical manner of presenting all studies in chronological order with bits and pieces of uncoordinated information. A literature review must synthesize, and there must be an accepted method of citing references when you come to referencing and writing a literature review. The accepted method of referencing is known as APA method, which is Publication Manual of American Psychological Association, which was published in 2012 and followed. Lastly, we have some ethical issues that are related to the critical literature review. When you summarize, add to, or challenge the work of others, there are two important pitfalls that you have to be beware of. Number one is purposely misinterpreting. In purposely misinterpreting the work of others, use of another's original words, arguments, or ideas as though they were your own, even if this is done in good faith, out of carelessness, or out of ignorance. These are some common form of plagiarism that we go through. Number one is ghostwriter. That writer is known as the ghostwriter. Who is the photocopier? Block paper is the writer that tries to disguise plagiarism by copying from several tweaking the sentences to make them fit together by retaining most of the original paraphrasing. The poor disguise is the writer that has attained the essential content of the source. He or she has altered slightly by changing keywords and paraphrases. The labor of laziness is the writer that takes time to paraphrase most of the paper from other sources and make it all fit together instead of spending the same time and effort on original work. The self-stealer is the writer that borrows generously from his or her previous work, violating policies concerning the expectation of originality adopted by most common academic institutions. This was all the critical literature reviews that I have time, and I have to read more, but that's all that I wanted to